Good news for Mercedes. Mercedes have said they are focusing on the 2024 car, but that doesn't mean they gave up on this season, and there is still something to be proven by the Silver Arrows. The team is focused on the fact that the upcoming Singapore Grand Prix will be a very good race, unlike Monza, which was branded the worst in the season. With the new contracts of Hamilton and Russell, things are looking good at Mercedes, but will they capitalize on this surge in positive atmosphere in the team? The Singapore Grand Prix will be a bit different this season, since there were some modifications on the track that might benefit sometimes but bring some others down. In its 16-season history, the Marina Bay Street circuit has seen numerous minor adjustments, but the core layout with its 23 turns has remained consistent. However, this season marks a significant shift in the circuit's configuration, reducing the number of turns to 19. The change primarily affects Sector 3, historically characterized by a sequence of mostly 90-degree corners. This change stems from the redevelopment of the float at Marina Bay into NS Square, resulting in a temporary removal of the four corners comprising turns 16 to 19, and this sequence involved a right-left-left-right pattern, sending drivers beneath a grandstand. The short straight between turns 17 and 18 has sometimes witnessed overtaking opportunities, though this section traditionally favored single-file racing, and transforming this segment into a straight is expected to give the teams more overtaking possibilities. While this modification might visually diminish the Marina Bay circuit's relentless challenge, especially from onboard cameras, it is hoped that it will inject the heightened action that many enthusiasts have been longing for. One of the teams that might even benefit from this change is Mercedes. Heading to Marina Bay, a high-downforce circuit, Lewis Hamilton hopes he's right in predicting the Singapore GP weekend will be a better one for Mercedes than Monza was. And although Hamilton and his teammate George Russell scored points at the Italian Grand Prix, 6th and 5th respectively, their W14 didn't have the pace to challenge for a top 3 showing. While Red Bull clinched a 1-2, Ferrari put new engines and a Monza-spec wing on the SF23, with Carlos Sainz completing the podium and Charles Leclerc in P4. Hamilton and Russell at least had a more competitive car than McLaren and Aston Martin, but Monza furthered a trend of the Mercedes having a fairly consistent deficit to the dominant Red Bull this season, and the team's place in the pecking order being decided by other teams moving around in competitiveness from track to track. Within that, though, is the Mercedes W14's inherently tricky nature. It is hard to get into the sweet spot, and though things started off well initially in FP1 for Hamilton at Monza, he felt it got more complicated thereafter, whereas Russell was just a bit happier throughout the event. On that particular Sunday, Russell found himself trailing the second Ferrari by over 10 seconds, with Hamilton even further behind by an additional 20 seconds, so it was a day when Mercedes seemed far from being contenders for the top positions. Hamilton openly labelled it as one of his Mercedes W14's worst performances, highlighting its consistent struggle on circuits that demand lower downforce. However, the car thrives on tracks that prioritise high downforce, and this bodes well for the upcoming event at the Marina Bay circuit, which is precisely tailored to this strength. "I feel like this Monza might be the worst one for us," he told the media. "Singapore is all high downforce, and when we put our high downforce wing on, we generally are a little bit better. Not as bad as here. I hope I'm right." Mercedes is without a podium in 4 races, their longest spell without a trophy this year, following Hamilton's P3 placing at the British Grand Prix, and the team is looking to end that drought this weekend. For a team like them, always striving for podiums, such a spell is simply unacceptable. Hamilton's optimism was echoed by both Toto Wolff and Andrew Shovlin, who said that they hope the switch to a higher downforce configuration will help the team perform much better than Monza. "We are certainly hoping," Shovlin responded in Mercedes' post-Monza debrief when asked if Singapore would suit the W14 more than Italy. "There is a reason to think that the car will work better, and that is because Singapore is a maximum downforce circuit. Our performance at the high downforce tracks like Barcelona, Budapest and even Zandvoort was good, and we've had a pretty strong performance. We are hoping to be able to be a bit quicker there and get back to a position where we can challenge for podiums. The track, though, does throw up some pretty unique challenges, and we've also got some layout changes for this year. There is a sequence of 4 corners near the end of the lap that have been removed where the track used to go underneath a grandstand through a tunnel. That's now gone, so we've got a longer straight, which will change a little bit how the tyres are working. There is a bit less energy there, but it's also an abrasive tarmac. We've got the softest 3 compounds, so it's a pretty tough race on the tyres, and it's also a bumpy street circuit. Mercedes is confident about Singapore, as they believe that the characteristics of the track align more favorably with their car's strengths, and they are optimistic about their performance, especially considering that Singapore is a circuit that demands maximum downforce. Looking back at previous races on high downforce tracks like Barcelona, Budapest and Zandvoort, the W14 has demonstrated strong performance, and the team acknowledges that there have been some layout changes for this year's race. Specifically, a sequence of 4 corners near the end of the lap has been removed, resulting in a longer straight, and this change will affect how the tyres behave with slightly less energy in play, but the tarmac remains abrasive. Singapore is known for being tough on tyres, and it's further complicated by the bumpy nature of the street circuit and the fact that the race takes place at night, presenting an additional set of challenges. Nevertheless, the team is approaching these hurdles with optimism and aims for a robust showing. The Mercedes team acknowledges that their performance in Singapore wasn't stellar last year. However, they have confidence in their car's performance on higher downforce tracks, particularly the W13 and W14 models. Despite the circuit's bumpiness and its nature as a street circuit, there is a belief that Lewis Hamilton's skill and familiarity with the track could potentially yield positive results. There's a sense of ambition within the team, with the hope that a strong performance in Singapore could pave the way for success in future races. I gotta admit, despite the confidence from Brackley, the challenge ahead appears monumental given Red Bull's absolute dominance with the formidable RB19 car, which has clinched victory in every race of this F1 season and probably will do so until the end, bar any unforeseen circumstances. Red Bull's likely early start on the development of their RB20 is another advantage, as they've maintained a comfortable lead throughout the current campaign, avoiding the need for major updates. Looking at F1's history, it's evident that dominant teams can sustain their supremacy for extended periods, and it's often only regulation changes that disrupt the established order, as seen with the 2021 floor adjustments that hindered Mercedes and benefited Red Bull. Considering that the rules remain unchanged heading into 2024, it's an exceedingly challenging task to expect Red Bull's competitors to close the gap. Nonetheless, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff remains optimistic. He believes that the current generation of cars has demonstrated that once teams master the necessary adjustments, a drastic shift in fortunes is entirely possible. He believes the examples of Aston Martin, which made a significant jump over the winter, and McLaren, which transformed its pace over the course of the 2023 campaign, are proof of what is possible and why Mercedes can challenge Red Bull next year. I think where we are, we just need a step that McLaren and Aston Martin have achieved in one go, he said when asked by motorsport.com if it was realistic to expect the gap to the front to be gone by 2024. It is not making a 2/10 update, but a 5/10 update, and then you're back in the game. So yeah, I think it's possible. Mercedes has a better grip now on the car concepts that are needed to be successful in the new ground effect era, and Wolff said there are many changes being made to the W15 design, so the team in the Brackley factory seems to be working really hard, leaving no stone unturned, as they say, which means they will explore new options, and combined with what they learned this season about those exact car concepts, it is looking likely that Mercedes will have a good W15 car capable of competing with Red Bull next season. Only time will tell, but with the added morale boost from Hamilton and Russell's new contract signings, it does seem like the tide is turning for the Silver Arrows. Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Do you think Mercedes will do well in Singapore? Thank you for watching Racing Zone, and we will see you in the next video.